quick disclaimer, I'm not very good at pronouncing Asian words, so if it's going to be too cringy for you, I recommend not watching this video. But anyway, this is the Wuxia World translations site, so I'm going to be going through one of these novels, just going through it, looking at from start to finish, or I don't know, maybe start to finish, we'll see. But I'm going to go through it, looking at, see if we can predict where the story is going to go from the start, and then just see how well the predictions go. But I don't really want to waste my free completed novel thing on my own thing, so I'm just going to do their free completed one, which is Break Through the Heavens. But let's have a quick look at this novel. Is it going to load? I did click on it, didn't I? Let's just nice and I must click the arrow. Oh, it's cringy. Okay. Just go chapters. I don't want to look at the reviews, because those can be a bit cringy to read. Anyway, let's just read the synopsis. I don't know if I can pronounce things either, so that's going to be a bit tough. But anyway, in a land where no magic is present, a land where the strong make the rules and the weak have to obey. A land filled with alluring treasures and beauty, yet also filled with unforeseen danger. 3 years ago, Xian, who has shown talents none have yet seen in decades, suddenly loses everything. His powers, his reputation, and his promise to his mother. What sorcery has caused him to lose all of his powers, and why has his fiancée suddenly showed up? Well, let's see what we can pick from this synopsis. Well, it's apparently it's a land where there's no magic is present, but does that mean that there is just no magic at all? Or is it just a single bit of land? There's most likely going to be magic, but you can't really pick much from that. A land where strong make the rules and the weak have to obey. Well, that's obviously going to be like some cultivation book or something, with you think of that weak to strong or something. A land filled with alluring treasures and beauty, yet also filled with unforeseen danger. So from that, it's going to be like a lot of plot armor for the main protagonist. So he's going to get a lot of treasures, and beauty can be either the opposite gender to the main protagonist, or it could be just beautiful lands or creatures, yet also filled with unforeseen danger. So that's going to mean a lot of opportunities for these treasures and or beauties to be obtained. 3 years ago, Xian, who had shown talents none seen in decades, suddenly lost everything. So this is, like I said before, it's like the land where the strong make the rules and the weak have to obey, etc. That's going to be like weak to strong, so that's going to be out we got from that. There's going to be a lot of struggling involved. His powers, his reputation, and his promise to his mother. Well, this is going to be interesting, because it's definitely going to be maybe a bit family orientated, so it might be trying to protect his family a little bit and stuff like that. What sorcery has caused him to lose all his powers? That's going to be a good question that we're probably going to find out either shortly or in the long period of time. We're going to see how he's lost his powers, what powers he doesn't have, and if he's going to get them over time. But yeah, and his fiancée suddenly showed up. So this is a bit interesting. It might sound simple, but it could be quite a few things that they could be either shown up instantly, or I reckon she's going to be of higher status than the main protagonist, so it's going to be like he's going to have to prove himself a little bit. Her family might be there, or whoever her sect or whatever this is going to be about is going to be about. Okay, that's what we got from that. but let's have a look. Got action, fantasy, and Zuenhuan. I don't know how to freaking pronounce that, but that's not my problem. It's highly recommended, so it should be good, but we'll see. Translator, good guy person. Very interesting name there. The author, Lu Hu, also known as whatever you want to say, which is probably translated to Heavenly Silkworm Potato. You might think that that might have nothing to do with the book. However, I'm gonna guess that that's probably gonna do a huge purpose to this book, because if he's named himself this, I'm gonna assume that the book is gonna have something similar to that in the book, but you can't be too sure. I wish I had my freaking. I probably just should have signed in, but nah, the ads are gonna be a little bit of a problem. But well, free revenue for them, I guess. Okay, we're gonna read the first chapter since we've already said that we're gonna read this. But chapter 1, Genius No More. So this is gonna be a fall episode. How's it gonna start? Let's see, how strong is it going to begin? So let's do pre-prediction of how it's going to go. So I've read Genius No More. So he's going to be genius, he's going to be really smart. So his intellect is still going to be there. However, depending on how Genius interpreted, he could be either lost his intellect or he's just been very strong and he's lost all these things and no more. So how is it going to start the episode as well? Or the chapter, I should say. It's really hard to predict this type of thing, but it's always fun. I believe that it's probably going to start off slow, and maybe a paragraph is going to be like a bit introducing it. Next few paragraph is going to say, well, he's lost everything, and this is how the story should begin. So let's have a quick look. Okay, let's zoom in so it makes it a bit easier. Can I zoom over? No, I can't. Well, that's going to be a bit annoying, but okay. Duazili's third stage. That must be a cultivation stage of some sort. Facing the magical testing monument as it displayed the 5 big hurtful words. Interesting. The youth stood expressionless, lips curled in a small self-ridiculing smile. He tightly clenched his fist, and because of the strength used, his slightly sharp fingernails dug deep into the palm of his hand, bringing brief moments of pain. Okay, so that must mean that he's looking at something that's testing his magical powers, and he has not got the result that he was hoping for, or he expected it to see. Xian, Du Zi Li, third stage, rank low. Beside the magical testing monument, a middle-aged man looked at the results of the monument and announced them with an indifferent voice. So it's on a cultivation stage, I'm guessing then. That must be like some spiritual root or whatever they use to gain gauge people with, I suppose. And stage high, is it low? Probably the low stage. And rank low as well, so we don't know exactly what that means at this stage, but it's okay. Immediately after the middle-aged man finished speaking, without much surprise, the people in the square started a commotion, ridiculing him. Pretty common in most books these days, they're always ridiculing the main protagonist and stuff like that, but it's probably a pretty old one, so it's probably not as cliche. AI, I don't know how you would say that, some language, is that a person or whatever. This piece of trash really disgraced his entire clan. If his father wasn't the clan leader, this kind of trash would already have been kicked out the clan, nobody would care about him, and there wouldn't be such a thing as leeching off the clan home. So he must be like some young master of his clan or something like that, and he's not giving good result. How could the once famous genius of the Wu-Ten Chen fall to become like this over the past few years? Okay, so judging by the testing instrument, this is either one of those things they do at a certain age, or this is just they retested or something, so we'll keep that in mind. I'll just read about a few paragraphs, so I don't have to keep stopping. Who knows, maybe he did something unforgivable and caused the god to get angry. The ridicule and laughter directed at him came from all directions and resonated in the motionless youth's ears as if piercing his heart. He could not help but breathe heavily. He raised his head to reveal a delicate and immature face, jet black eyes glancing past the people of his age that ridiculed him as well. His lips, which were previously full of self-ridicule, turned to fill with bitterness instead. These people, were they always this cold, or was it because 3 years ago they smiled humbly to congratulate him and now they wanted to take it back? Smiling briefly, Zion turned around and silently walked back to the group of people. His lonesome figure seemed to be unable to fit in with the surroundings. Next up, Xiaomei. Showing the tester's voice, a teenage girl quickly ran up from in the crowd. The moment she got on the stage, the murmurings and discussions quietened down, and every pair of fiery eyes were looked onto her face. The teenage girl wasn't more than 14 years old. We'll stop right there for a second. So I'm guessing if she's 14 years old, the main protagonist must be 14 years ago. So 3 years ago was 11, which he yet really isn't a teenager. So this is pre-adolescent, I guess you could say. So he must have showed a lot of promise, and the results have shocked the audience pretty much. So that's probably what this is all about at the moment. Although her beauty wasn't immediately evident, her small childish face combined with her innocence captured the attention of the audience. So she must be, I don't know, a common beauty, I guess you could say. So maybe she's going to be important to the main protagonist, but we can't say for sure so far. She quickly stepped forward and put her teeny hands on the black stone monument. She then closed her eyes gently. As the girl closed her eyes, the monument shined brightly once again. Duo Xia 7th stage. So, okay, and then Xiaomei Duo Zule 7th stage, rank high. Still confusing me at the moment. I don't know exactly what any of this means. Very confusing, but I'm guessing 7th stage is definitely higher than 3rd stage, so it's going up. It might be cultivation stage, it might be some spiritual route, but we're not sure. Rank high, I don't know what that means either, so this is really confusing me. But yeah, let's go on. Yeah, hearing the tester read out the results, the teen girl smiled proudly. So this is a proud type of person then. Very interesting. Tis. I don't know how you freaking say that, but well. 7th stage, Duozi, how impressive. At this rate, in 3 years, she'll be named the true Duozi already. She really fits the name of the clan's seedling. Hearing the unambiguous praise coming from the crowd, the girl's smile turned even wilder. Vanity. That's probably a pretty good word for this, actually. The temptation that so many girls are unable to resist. That's a pretty sexist remark, but I don't really care about that, to be honest, but keep that in mind, I guess. Because that could either mean that it's going to be some harem, or it's either going to be a really good romance, so this is going to be interesting. While chatting with her fellow sister members, interesting, sister members. Well, her line of sight weaved through the surrounding people and landed on a lonesome figure away from them. So that's obviously the main protagonist. Following her browse for a while, she finally decided against walking over. So there must be some connection between them, maybe. She might be the fiance that we're thinking of. And this is probably before when they're going to say, sorry, you're not good enough. We're breaking engagement. I'm guessing that's out of that. And she might not want it, or she might, and her family said, sorry, he's not good enough for you, there's this person that's better. But let's go on. Between the two of them was already a huge gap. Looking at Xia Yan's performance, these people, the past few years, by the time the adulthood ceremony comes, he would only be able to place a lower tier clan member ranks. He would only be able to place at the lower tier clan member ranks. She, however, with her brilliance, would become the clan's very important and thus well-nurtured fighter. There would be no limit to her future. So we'll stop there for a second, but from that I'm guessing that he's going to leave the clan and go on adventuring because no one's going to be on his side. I don't know, it's not going to happen immediately, I'm guessing. He's going to have to get something, he's going to find something that's going to progress him that way, but we'll see. I don't know, fuck, that's not a name, it's surely just some expression or something. An explicit sigh emerged from her. Xia Mei thought back to this youth from 3 years ago, bursting with energy and pride. At 4, he started practicing, and at 10, he reached the 9th stage, Duo Zhile. At 11, he broke the 10th stage, Duo Zhile barrier, and condensed his Duo Zerki Yuzu. Fuck, these are going to be really confusing, but anyway. Successfully, he became the youngest Duerzer in the clan since the past 100 years. At that time, his self-confidence as well as immeasurable power attracted countless young teens, which of course included Xia Mei. That sounded very harem-like in my opinion, like this must be some Chinese thing, or I don't know what that is, to be honest, about like some women attracted to powerful men. Because when it comes to, for me, it doesn't make sense, but we'll see. Because to me, that just sounds sexist. However, the path of genius was always winding. 3 years ago, this junior youngster, whose fame reached the absolute top, received what could possibly be the cruelest blow. The hard work he put into accumulating and condensing the Duo Zerle Ki Zu over the past 10 years had in just one night vanished into nothingness. All the Duo Zerle in his body slowly dissipated with time, and instead pity for him grew. As a result of losing his Duo Zerle, his physical strength decreased as well. Okay, I'm guessing this is definitely cultivation stage then. So we can probably gather that that's a cultivation stage, and then the rank of high or low or something like that must mean his spiritual root, I'm guessing. Or just a very broad estimation of his spiritual root, I'm assuming. The position of a genius, in one night he fell below the average person. This kind of blow made the youth lose his will to carry on training. This reverence, once associated with this lad, had slowly changed into disdain and ridicule. Sitting so high up and falling right down, this kind of form might just be the one that he could never recover from. Next, Xiao Zhan. Among the commotion, the tesser's voice sounded again. Following the course of his highly reputable name, the group of people quietly quietened down immediately. Every single gaze turned. At the center point of the attention was a teen girl clad in purple dress, elegantly standing there. Her calm, tender, and immaculate face was immediately affected by the many gazes of the crowd. Okay, this might be his fiancée by the sound of it, because she's sounding very attractive to everybody at the moment. Or maybe it's just her calm and tender, immaculate face. Okay, that's interesting. Her calm and indifferent attitude could be compared to the blooming of a lotus. At such a young age, she already had the air of a refined lady. It would be hard to imagine how she would affect the city and the nation once she grew up. That's a pretty interesting thing to say about a young person, but you can assume that she's young, beautiful, and you can tell when she grows up she's going to be of beauty. But in what respect, it's not really defined. So it must be of the main character, or maybe just the author's preference. Because some beautiful women don't attract a lot of people. They might look beautiful, but at the same time not look beautiful. So it's Hard to say. This purple dress girl, if compared to Zayame in terms of beauty, was clearly several leagues above. It's no wonder the crowd would take this kind of action. Okay. Interesting. Taking small graceful steps, the girl named Zaya Zun walked up in front of the stone monument. She stretched her hand out, and the small she stretched her small hand out, and the purple sleeve mixed with black and gold threads fell down her arm, revealing a delicate snow-white wrist. She touched the monument lightly. Okay. A few people might be confused by this, actually. I'm a bit confused. Woman revealing a snow... So is that like a prevalent thing, like back in those times or something like that? Like, is delicate snow white like attractive? Because some people like tan people, so it's really hard to gauge that. So let's just Google that, because I reckon we're all pretty interested. We'll just Google that. Yeah, that helps. I suppose. You go. That makes it really hard to understand. That's funny. So we're just gonna have to assume that's just she must be just beautiful, I guess. In the silence, the monument shone once more. Duazele's ninth stage rank high. So she's at this point, we can assume that she's worse than the main protagonist because he was already at a higher stage than this. However, this next one's gonna be explained a little bit, I guess. Looking at the words on the monument, the entire square fell into a deep silence. So that must be high for them, I guess, but not really at the same time. She really reached the ninth stage. How frightening! The position of the youngest high rank in the clan has been taken, without a shred of a doubt, by Miss Zun. After the silence, several teens couldn't help but wolf whistle. That's a pretty rude thing to do, but for some reason, that's a good thing. Their eyes full of respect and I don't know if it's a translator thing, but maybe a wolf whistle probably wasn't the best use of that there, because wolf whistle, where I am anyway in the world, a wolf whistle is to like say, oh fuck, you know, what a beautiful lady, you know, just wolf whistle in the street or something like that. So it's actually quite rude. But I guess that's not rude. Like, if you take that well, I guess you'd be like a very proud person, I should assume. But anyway, Duazele was essential towards her being a Duazele is split into 10 different stages, and while the body acquires 10 stages of Duazele, it can better condense the Duze vortex, becoming a well-respected Duaze. Okay, let's have a quick Google of this, because this should, when you're saying something like this, it's got to come from somewhere. So let's just Google that. That's not actually helping. I don't want to read like the Phantom and stuff like that, because that shouldn't describe it. Maybe it's just something we're going to learn later on, assuming, but I thought like some Chinese reference or something like that would come from it. Because that's not really going to explain anything. That's just Google for you. That doesn't really explain much, I suppose. But from this, we can assume that this is important in some respect at the early stages, but we'll just have a quick breakdown of this. Duazele was essential towards becoming a Duze, so that must be the stage, and that must be what is cultivated, so it's passed through them by themselves. Like, I don't know what that is actually going to be for, though. But 10 stages, interesting, because I see a lot of 9 stages. See there's a 9th stage, and the 10th stage is like the beginning before the next stage. Like, that's the 10th stage is the accumulation of the previous 9 stages, which makes the 10th stage way higher than the previous stages. But we don't know yet. And when the body acquires 10 stages of Duaze, it becomes this vortex. So that must be the Danshin in some cultivation things. So that's probably a pretty low thing, so it's beginning everything. So that's magic. To me, sounds really magic. So the land of no magic, that's not really making a lot of sense. Maybe that's just like key, so it's not really magic, it's just normal, I guess. In the crowd of people, Xiaomei stared at the people, Xiaomei, which is the girl that was like 7th stage or something like that, stared at the purple dress girl in front of the monument with a little jealousy. That's pretty normal for young people, I suppose. It's a pretty easy thing to show. Looking at the result of the monument, the middle-aged tester, who would normally be indifferent, smiled, faced her, and congratulated her. Miss Xia, half a year later, you should be able to condense the Du-Ki vortex. So that must be the 10th stage, I'm guessing. If you succeed, you'll be a Duergar at the age of 14, the second person to do so in the Xia clan. Of course, the second person would be the fallen genius Xia Yan. Thanks, the teen girl nodded her head lightly, her calm face showing a little happiness because of his praise. So that's to me, I'm just gonna use the 7 deadly sins and 7 heavenly virtues as a reference for this, so it helps progress it a little bit. So we've got praise, which is a heavenly, I think that's a sin in a certain respect, and it's a virtue, because I have a quick look. Go 7 heavenly virtues and 7 heavenly it's 7 sins. Oh, it's pretty easy to just do that way. 7 virtues. Okay, here we go. So we've got chastity, lust, temperaments, gluttony, charity, greed, diligence, sloth, patience, wrath, kindness, envy, humility, and pride. So pride is a sin. So that's probably not the best thing to be showing, you would think. Keep that in mind. She quietly turned in the midst of the crowd's attention and slowly walked to the downtrodden youth in the back of the group. Brother Xia Yan at the youth's side. The teen girl stopped. She faced Xia Yan and bowed respectfully. Her beautiful and gentle face showed an elegant smile, which would make the surrounding girls jealous. So I'm assuming something bad's going to happen. I haven't read this paragraph. I'm actually just showing there's one thing I actually haven't read on any further. So if you have, then you might see what's going to happen. But I'm assuming that she's going to say something bad, because she had pride before. But let's have a look. What qualification do you have the right now for you to call me that? He faced the girl that could be considered the clan's radiant pearl and said bitterly. She, after being downhearted for an extremely short while, continued to maintain her respect. Okay, that's interesting. That's an interesting show, actually. So keep that in mind as well. Brother Xia Yan, you once said to Xia before to take it on anything, one must first be able to let go. That's an interesting thing to say. Like, if the youth said it, if he said if the main protagonist said this, he must have some level of intellect too, which is to keep in mind too, because there's actually a lot of things in it. To take on anything, this first bit is actually very embroiderment, I don't know the quick term, but still makes it across. And then one must first be able to let go. That's very important in respect that to be able to let go, it's like if you know the Buddhists, where they make you're probably not something that's common, but the Buddhists make like these paintings, right? And they do a huge design, like really beautiful and stuff like that. And then the training is to blow it away, just to be able to let go of things. So that's like some powerful thing that the Buddhists use in their religion, but it's just something to take in mind as well. Because if the protagonist said it, that means he has a lot of potential in my respect. One is only truly free when he can take on and let go easily, which is another... Okay, that's going to be translated notes, so it might be in there as well, so we'll have a quick look at that later. So Xia Zhu said gently, her smiling face full of warmth. Haha, truly free. I only knew how to say it. look at me now. Do I look like a free person in this world? Was it mine to begin with? Zion laughed, saying just dispiritedly. So I'm assuming that he's had a sin, he's used a sin on himself, and that's what his karma has come from. Because by the sound of it, he's either just been very modest to the point where it's really screwed him a little bit right now, or it's just people being arrogant or ignorant or something like that. Because these are pretty young kids, and it's not really helpful if their parents aren't very good influence on them. So let's have a look at a virtue that might have affected that. I'm assuming that it's going to be a little bit of sloth, which is just not caring. That people would say that's like pretty like it's ignorance, which is not very good. Like even if some virtues can cause problems when it comes to karma and pride. He might have had a little pride and a little bit of greed or something like that. But the most thing that's got him is pride and being in sloth. So that's where his karma's come from. So it's, okay, just quickly, wait, and then it's diligence and humility. So the virtue can also lead to a sin. So because what I mean by sloth, he's been very diligent, right? But he's also been very, like, not giving a hell about what the people say about him. He's not correcting people. He's just not, so he's being very diligent and they're not caring what people say. So he's probably on more of, he's just, yeah. A lot of people like making fun of, like, making fun of people and stuff like that is just human nature in a certain respect. So that's just why he's in the situation at the moment, we can assume. But we'll see. Where was I at? Okay, facing Zion's somber mood, Zana's face brows furrowed a little, and she said seriously, "Well, Zion, though I don't know what's happening to you, I honestly believe that you will stand again and reclaim your lost glory and respect." She stopped for a moment, her white, tender face reddening a little. "Back then, there were a lot of people who were attracted to you." Haha, hearing the girl's wholehearted truth, he laughed awkwardly but didn't say anything else. So that right there is what gets a lot of people in trouble, is not saying anything, which it's pretty hard to say you're assuming because he's awkward. However, that's going to lead him to more trouble, I would assume. Other people would be swayed by it, but he did not have the qualifications nor the mood. So sloth right there, that's just being a sloth. Instead, he silently turned around and walked away from the square. It's an interesting thing to do. Avoiding it is not always the best solution. Because then we go back to here. That's just wrath right there. Like, that's patience at the same time. But not having that, he has chastity, which is a very bad thing to have, because that's at least girls in the trouble, you can assume, and sometimes boys, but it's more portrayed stereotypically to be girls. That having this is more suffered by this. So yeah. So all this on the virtue side is also attracted by sin. And if you have sin, the virtue in a person attacks the sin as a person. So it's like a two-way street. So the virtues attack the sin attack the virtue, and an ever-ending cycle. Standing still and facing the lonely back of the youth, she hesitated for a while before chasing after him and walking side by side with him. Meanwhile, from behind, a jealous wolf whistle sounded. Interesting. The wolf whistle. Let's have a look. 1-0. Okay, number 2. That doesn't matter. What was I looking at before that? I was 6 and 7. The city's name. So wait, 6. You once said to what? Wow, what was that? 4. I was on 4. My fault. A Fado who has commenced their 10th stages of Duazele. This is one of the ranks in the hierarchy of this book. Okay. And then 7, which is nothing. So nothing was explained. That's annoying. Third person, that's an interesting thing, but it doesn't matter. Okay, that's all I've could see so far, but with a quick the conclusion of the first chapter. What we can assume is that she might be the fiance in the synopsis, which is don't you say. I'm 100% sure that's don't you say. I don't really care how it's said to me. It doesn't really matter. But anyway, that's just, I'm guessing that she must be the fiance, I'm assuming. And jealousy might be lead towards some problems, so there's not a lot you can predict from this, but one small prediction we can have is that he's fallen from something. So how has that happened? Like I said, I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100% sure what I said at the start. I think I said that it's a bit slow, we won't find out what happens at the start. Well, they might, I don't know, I can't remember, but that's what we've seen so far. We're not finding out how it's happened, so it must be in the next chapter. I said the first paragraph, something like that, didn't I? I think I said the first paragraph. We might not find out, but the next bit we might. So I was a small prediction before I read the chapter. So that's changing from paragraph. I'm going to guess into chapters. We'll find out later in the chapters then. So it's a bit slower than I first thought, which might mean that it's going to be a long book, which it is. It's a 1600 chapter book, but my point is towards that one thing. Anyway, that's, if you like this, we'll probably do a next one anyway. Just, I'm going to go through the chapters. I'll be a lot quicker. I'll probably just read through a whole chapter next time. It's just to try get as many flags away at the start as we can, just so that we can like say, well, we've seen that happening, so we can assume we've already assumed that. We'll probably get a few more things I'll leave to the end of the chapters from now on. I just wanted to the first chapter to break it down a little bit more than I would normally do from now on. So anyway, if you liked it, or if you liked this video, then I'll do another one. Hope you enjoyed. Bye.